Yuka Way is here in studio. Yuka, you're starting off with Donald Trump. He has, of course, arrived for the G7 summit in the French Alps. He brought back a tariff threat with him.
Yeah, once again, just as global leaders are becoming increasingly wary of the US under an unpredictable president, Donald Trump gave a slap across the face to his host, saying he'd impose 100% tariffs on French wine if France didn't drop a digital services tax on tech firms. Luke Traeger has more.
Before arriving for a G7 summit, Donald Trump had already stoked tension with his French hosts. The US president told US media he'd have no choice but to slap 100% tariffs on French wines unless Paris backed down over a 3% digital services tax on tech giants. It's been in effect since 2019 and applies to firms with revenue of over 25 million euros in France and over 750 million internationally, and netted France 700 million euros in 2024. It's not certain just what mechanism Trump can use to get his way, with any new trade investigations likely to take months after the US Supreme Court struck down his previous tariffs earlier this year. What's more, Paris has already refused to drop the tax, pointing to last year's agreement for a 15% tariff rate across the European Union on most of its exports.
Tariffs do nobody any good, especially between G7 countries. Europeans decided on this digital tax, and several countries have implemented it. It's part of our law. The US does not decide on the laws of Europeans or the French. That's only right, and things won't be any different while I'm here.
Alcohol is among the EU's top exports to the United States and worth around 9 billion euros a year. And those in the French sector have lobbied for tariffs to drop to zero ever since the EU-US trade deal was agreed last year.
And Donald Trump also told G7 allies that the US didn't need much help in reopening the Strait of Hormuz after demining is completed.
This, of course, comes after Sunday's announcement from both the US and Iran that they had agreed on a framework to end the conflict. However, while Washington insists the Strait of Hormuz is set to be free and open for good, Iran has already said it would charge transit fees, which it says would not amount to tolls, but rather a maritime service fee. And even if a political deal is reached, analysts say it will take months for energy exports from the Gulf to be restored. Before the war, more than 120 tankers transited the route on an average day. In recent weeks, that number has stood at around 12 to 15. And Middle East oil producers have shut down millions of barrels per day of crude oil output due to the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. According to the International Energy Agency, the production cuts amount to some 14% of global demand. It will be a challenge then to bring production and shipping back up to pre-conflict levels when some 20 million barrels, or around a quarter of global seaborne oil trade, passed through the waterway. For liquefied natural gas, 93% of Qatar's and 96% of the Emirates' exports transited the route, or around 19% of global LNG trade. All that has been severely disrupted, and in the meantime, many tankers have left the region and gone elsewhere.
And meanwhile, the markets have reacted positively to the agreement.
Crude oil prices today plunged to their lowest levels since the start of the war, while global stocks mostly rallied. The North Sea Brent, the international benchmark, settled down 4.8% to just over $83 a barrel, while the US West Texas Intermediate settled at below $81 a barrel. On Wall Street, the Dow jumped 500 points to close at a new record high, while the Nasdaq ended the day up 3%. This as SpaceX continued to skyrocket on its second day of trading as a public company after Friday's blockbuster IPO, which made it a $2 trillion company. It gained a further 20% in Monday's trading.
And finally, here in France, prices at the pump are already falling.
Well, they had already started coming down quite significantly from a peak reached a few weeks ago. And now with the framework agreement providing a sigh of relief for motorists after months of soaring costs, it's set to go down even further. Analysts, though, say it will take months before things will come back to normal. Luke Traeger and our colleagues at France Télévisions have more.
Petrol at under €2 a litre. It seems relief for beleaguered motorists could finally be at hand, With Iran and the United States agreeing to terms, that's the hope for these people who've seen fuel expenses skyrocket in recent months.
I hope it's going to come down to under €2 because that's really expensive.
It's at 190 something, so coming back down would be nice. I'm a student and this is expensive.
The January prices of $166 for diesel and $170 for petrol may seem like a distant memory. One driver is optimistic, but thinks we'll all need to stay patient.
It'll take a little time for everything to go back to normal, so we can get the old rates back, if not even less.
On the global market, crude prices have fallen over the last month and are now at their lowest level since the outbreak of the war. An initial effect on prices should be felt in the days ahead, but when it comes to getting back to pre-war levels, one expert believes we'll need to wait until at least September.
It'll be in the medium term since the entire logistics chain needs to catch up. Costs also need to come down since transport, among other things, was hit with extra charges tied to diesel prices. So if this all works out fairly quickly, it's possible we could get back to pre-war prices.
Following the announcement of a deal between Iran and the US, the French government indicated it would ensure that fuel prices fall as fast as possible.
With that report, and that's it from the business desk.
Yuka, thanks so much.